So then how do we go about paying off our debts? You may say, well, you can do it however you want to. Well, there are ways that naturally work better than others, and there are strategies that work better than others. And this is not some scheme to pay off debts. This is 100% you getting it done, but it's in a way that's going to allow you to get things done in a very smart and efficient way. And so what we're going to do, first and foremost, you're going to need to sit down in front of your computer or with a pen and paper and make sure that if you're married, you have your spouse with you. If you're single, then maybe an accountable person that you trust and that you don't mind looking at your finances with, to sit down with you, and you need to list every single one of your debts individually. So like student loans, there are if you've taken out multiple student loans, then you may have one big lump amount, but I want you to list the individual student loans. And then like credit cards, list the individual credit cards. So list all individual debts and then list them smallest to largest in amount. And you may say, well, that doesn't make much mathematical sense, Dylan, because what if one has a 20% interest rate and one has a 3% interest rate? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And you're right. Mathematically, it does not make a lot of sense, but we are not being mathematicians, or else we wouldn't have gone in debt in the first place. What we want to do is to list them smallest to largest because we want the momentum effect. We want to be able to pay off one debt and be able to just bounce right to the next and keep building and building the momentum. The only way that I'm going to list by interest rate is if I have amounts that are extremely similar. If you have amounts that are really, really close to one another, pay off the high interest first. But other than that, smallest to largest will work for you the best. Now, what are we going to do once we have them listed smallest to largest? Well, what we're going to do is we are going to pay the minimum payment on all our debts. You're going to say, well, how's that going to get me out of debt? But any other money that you have, all of the money you have, we're not saving money. We're not investing unless we have a match, and that's all we're investing is if we have the match. We shouldn't have money going to any other places except for our debts and our bills, our day-to-day things that we have to do, our needs, not our wants. And so then every other dollar is going to go on that smallest debt. So minimum payments on everything, and then every other dollar goes towards the principal of that smallest debt until you pay that one off. And then you take the entire payment, extra and all, that you were putting on the smallest debt and roll it into the next one. And then you pay that one off and you roll all of that into the next one. And you see how it builds momentum, and it'll help you get out of debt so fast and efficient relative to other ways of doing it, or just trying to pay a little extra on all of them at any given time. And another reason that we're not too, caught up or worried about what the interest rates are is because we don't plan on being in debt long. And so if you're trying to get out of debt and get out of consumer debt, for most people, you can do it in a 2 to 3 year span max. And so and it may not seem like you can. You need a little hope, you need a little belief, and you need those easy wins of the momentum of doing it this way in order to make yourself believe that you can. But if we've only got 2 or 3 years that we're going to be completely debt free, interest is not going to kill us on just about any of those debts. And so, yeah, if they're similar, if the amounts are similar, then yeah, go for the highest interest rate first. But otherwise, I want you to just get those wins and build and build and build and just pile on the payments. And like I said, I want all extra money that you have going towards debt payments. I don't want you to, work overtime or work extra hours and be putting money toward investing or putting money towards things that aren't going to lead you to financial freedom. I want you to get out of the bondage of debt as fast as possible. And that means putting all extra money that you can on those debts. And that may mean working extra jobs. That may mean working in different places and getting extra hours and working extra shifts in order to make more money so you can get out of debt quicker. But just trust me, the quicker you can get out of debt, the quicker the wealth building really begins, because then we can start investing at a higher clip, at a higher rate, and being able to put that money away and let it grow as early as possible, like we've talked about previously, and letting it compound over time will do you the most good as far as building wealth and getting to a place of financial freedom and being able to enjoy your financial life and not be frustrated with it all the time. And so also on top of getting extra jobs or working overtime, also sell things that you don't need. If you've got a motorcycle that's been sitting in your carport for the last 5 years and you haven't ridden it, then sell it. Do something to move the needle a little more if you can. If you have cars that are outrageous, if you have cars that your payments are $500, $600, $700 a month and are eating away at your income, sell them and get something used and cheap and take the difference and put that on the debt that you have. So it's not that difficult of an issue. And not only if you sell a car, are you going to be able to any amount of equity that you may have in that car, which typically is not a ton, but any equity that you may have in the vehicle can go towards debt repayment, but also just getting out from under a debt that you have or vastly decreasing the payment on the debt that you have by getting something cheaper. We don't need new things. We don't need all the new gadgets and cars and all these. We don't need these things. Especially if we are struggling financially, we need to make sure that we can just get to a point where we can begin to build. And one day we'll get to a point where you can buy whatever you want, but today is not the day if you're riddled with debt payments. And then obviously, if you're really close to bankruptcy or foreclosure, filing bankruptcy or losing your home, do what needs to be done to keep that from happening. So if you need to, I don't normally say to dip into any kind of retirement accounts you may already have, because we want that money to continue to grow for you. So if you're just working on getting out of debt, don't be dipping into your retirement accounts to try to get out of debt. But if you are facing foreclosure or bankruptcy and that will get you out of that predicament, then do it. Because those are things that can scar you financially for a long period of time and can really hurt your spirit as to being able to reach financial success. So get yourself out of those at all costs, and then move forward. But don't be, just, barely trying to get along and not doing the things necessary to keep yourself from reaching that place, because both of those situations are worst case scenarios financially, and we just don't want you to get there. There's too much pain and too much hurt on the other side of that hill. And last but not least, a rule that breaks my particular list of how to go about getting out of debt is, if you owe the IRS tax money, pay the IRS, because those guys will come after you. They will garnish your wages. They will take money from you that you believe is rightfully yours, but they're like, I need my tax money. Pay them first. Get them off of your back, and then move into paying from smallest to largest, because otherwise they're just going to hound you and hound you and hound you, and possibly garnish your wages, possibly do all kinds of things. They are part of the government, and they have a lot of power to do what they want to get their money back. So don't let it get to that place, and pay them back first.